The Hatbox Mystery from 1947 was a short, low-budget crime film, actually more of a featurette, where there's murder, intrigue, and a little comedy as well. At around 45 minutes, it's just a fun little watch. And you know what? I'll give a summary of the film, spoiler-free, and then offer some closing thoughts. So the film opens up in a very unusual way for an old crime film of this era. Basically, we right off the bat get a fourth wall smashing introduction from all the characters of the film, talking right to us. It's kind of cool, actually. And you know, since this one is in the public domain, I'll just include the introduction scene right here.
But every time I get a case, something goes wrong. Of course, I could blame my secretary. Oh, just a minute. I'll have you meet her. Susie.
What is it, Russ?
Meet our friends. Confidentially, we're going to be married someday. That is, if I can ever scrape together enough money.
Isn't he wonderful?
That, no doubt, is my silent assistant, Harvard.
Hiya, Susie.
Hello.
Russ.
Hello, Harvard.
Wow. We finally got some clients.
Now, wait a minute, Harvard. They're not clients.
Everybody calls me Harvard. Maybe because I never went to Yale. Ha!
See what I mean, folks? I love him, but he's plenty D-U-M-B. His sweetheart is Veronica Hoopler. She runs the hamburger stand right near the office. She'll be along in a second.
Harvard!
Oh, here she is now. Veronica, meet the folks.
Oh, hello, everybody. Ain't he romantic?
Well, that's it.
D-U-M. I get it. Dumb. Yeah? Who's dumb now? You forgot to tell them our names.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Tom Neal. My secretary is Pamela Blake. This is Virginia Sale. And, of course, Harvard is Allen Jenkins. We'll be seeing you all in just a minute. And here's the rest of our cast.
Now, a side note before we get into this. Personally, having been in some local community theater productions, I thought this was actually a pretty cool way to start a film. You know, it's the characters that come out and they do the gimmicky thing of talking right to the audience, but in character, you know, in their costumes. I love it. Well, after this brief introduction, we get right into the story. So they need work, and sure enough, Russ gets a call. He has a job opportunity, so he leaves and has Susan in charge of the office while he's gone. So while she is there alone, this sketchy character comes in, and he's got like a Van Dyke beard, so you know he's up to trouble. And this is a character, Stevens, played by actor Leonard Penn. And his story here is that he believes his wife is unfaithful, and he wants someone to get her pictures taken using a custom Hatbox that he has set up with a camera inside of it. That's kind of a clever idea. So Susan agrees to this. It's kind of an easy assignment, even though this guy seems majorly suspicious. Now, Harvard, meanwhile, has been hanging out with Veronica at the burger place. You know, getting a hamburger with plenty of onions. He gets free burgers and also needs to get money from her to help with their struggling office. The goof. So the next day, Susan shows up. She's got the Hatbox ready to take the picture. And sure enough, we see the character of Marie Moreland, played by actress Olga Andre, and she steps out of the building. So Susan gets ready to snap the picture, but wouldn't you know it, that custom Hatbox isn't really fixed up with a camera, but rather it's a gun inside. Oh no. Well, Susan is in trouble because she has just shot this woman, and of course the police show up. She's accused of assault with a deadly weapon, and this Marie Moreland character is in critical condition. Well, back at the office, Harvard tells Russ the bad news, and they go to work. Now, there are some criminals, of course, who are behind this crime, and they want Susan taken care of, so they're going to head over to Susan's apartment. But this is right as Russ is there kind of searching around, and it looks like it could be trouble for Russ. He's just there at the wrong time. Well, there's a big fight, and soon some police show up, and the criminals run off. Russ meets with the DA, actor Edward Keene, and Russ has a plan. He wants Susan released so that he can use her as a trap to lure out these criminals. Well, will his crazy scheme work? You know, since there isn't much left to this film, I mean, heck, there isn't much to the film in the first place, I'll stop the recap here and just offer some analysis and closing thoughts. So the movie, The Hatbox Mystery, was released in 1947, and it was directed by Lambert Hillier, who was a prolific director worked on a number of films I've enjoyed before, namely The Invisible Ray from 1935 and even Dracula's Daughter from 1936. The film was released by Robert L. Lippert's Screen Guild Productions. Okay, as some of you are probably aware, Lippert produced films from the 40s and 50s. Well, they would often have a reputation for being cheap, rushed, low budget, but not necessarily bad. Some notable Lippert films that are a little not great would be the likes of Radar Secret Service from 1950, Rocket Ship XM, and Cat Women on the Moon. Several of his films have actually been spoofed on Mystery Science Theater 3000. So Lippert came to be known as the King of the Bees, and maybe that is the case. But to me, it's notable that Lippert was also responsible for some really good films as well, like The Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price, and even The Fly. And I might do a video on this topic in the future. But basically, a film could be considered a B film or a low-budget, cheesy film. And that doesn't necessarily mean I won't enjoy it. I watch and review plenty on this channel that could be considered cheesy movies, and frequently I take great enjoyment from them, regardless of the budget or lack thereof. In my opinion, most of what I would personally consider bad movies are actually what comes out of Hollywood today. So a film can be old, it can have that B film label to it, doesn't mean I'm not going to enjoy it. Now, as far as my thoughts on this film, well, it was a fast-paced, 44-minute crime film. The quality, admittedly, isn't the best. The production looks a little cheap, but I still enjoyed it. I liked the performances and thought the leads all had a nice chemistry together. And I also liked that novelty of a unintended shooting involving a Hatbox of all things, and, the wrong person being accused of the crime and having to unravel that mystery. I thought that was well done, and I also thought the humor of Harvard hanging out with his girlfriend at the burger joint, that was cute. Him insisting on extra onions on the burger, and she would prefer that he didn't, for obvious reasons. And honestly, even for the low budget, this was a nice detective film with that noir vibe to it. There were some shadowy scenes of suspense and so on. And I liked the mystery. It left you wondering if Russ can get to the bottom of things to help out his girlfriend from this unusual plight that she is in. And again, it's short. So, if you watch the film and you don't like it, it's not a huge loss. Now, actor Tom Neal, I remember fondly from the extraordinary crime film Detour from 1945 with actress Ann Savage. It's a film I'm constantly raving about on this channel. In that film, he plays this poor sap who picks up the worst possible hitchhiker imaginable. So that's a great film. If you have not seen it, again, go check out Detour. I love that movie. Now, Tom Neal also starred in another film as the same detective character, Russ Ashton, in another film, The Case of the Babysitter. It also came out in 1947. And that also had many of the same actors as the same characters from this film. And it was also directed by Lambert Hillier. So I don't know if that was intended to be a series that never quite took off, but I would like to see that one eventually. I honestly stumbled across this film when browsing through old movies, finding something that kind of would catch my attention for a future review. I think I may have been digging through films of Tom Neal, and this one caught my eye. Namely that title, Hatbox Mystery. You ever stop and think about hatboxes anymore? That's sort of a thing that just has sort of vanished away with time. I remember when I was a lot younger, my parents brought me to a Southern Baptist church, and you would see the old ladies there who would all have the wide, flowery hats. So they probably all owned a few hatboxes, but today it's something almost unheard of. I don't know, any of my 3 fans remember hatboxes? Well, you can let me know in the comments below. I know, it's just one of those fun novelty things I like to kind of think about. It's something from the past that we really don't see much of anymore today. Hatboxes, huh? There's a curious bit of trivia in that, according to Variety and Daily Variety reviews, this film's plot was supposedly inspired by an actual crime that took place a year before on a New York City subway, in which a sawed-off shotgun was hidden in a package and used in an attempted crime. I think the Terminator also tried that trick as well. And this is completely off topic, but there is a fun episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents. The episode's called The Hatbox, that I don't want to describe at all because you need to just go into it not knowing anything about it and just let yourself be surprised. It's a wonderful Hitchcock twist at the end. I've got it linked below. You can actually see it for free on Roku. It's a great episode. Well, let me wrap up this one. The Hatbox Mystery from 1947 was a lighthearted crime film starring Tom Neal and Pamela Blake as a detective team trying to solve the mystery of a tricky hatbox accidentally used for a crime. And they plan to try to outsmart some bad characters to get to the bottom of this mystery. It also featured Allen Jenkins as the goofy sidekick and Virginia Sale as his burger-selling sweetie. Honestly, it's a breezy, entertaining, and quick-paced mystery, and it's one worth checking out.
I'll take St. Louis, for instance. You've got who's on first, what's on second. I don't know on third.
That's what I'm talking about. Them the fellas names on the St. Louis game.
Well, I'm telling you, who's on first, what's on second. I don't know who's on third.
You know the fellas names?
Yes.
Okay. Who's on first?
Yes.
I'm talking about the guy on first base.
Who?
The guy on first base.
Who?
The guy standing on first
Who's
base.
on first?
Well, why are you asking me for?
I'm not asking you, I'm telling you who's on first.
I'm asking you who's on first.
That's the man's name.
That's whose name?
Yes.
Okay.